Welcome you to the January 13th, 2022 Board of Public Works and Safety meeting. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Marshall.
Here.
Mr. Long.
Here.
Mr. Perez.
Here.
Is there any conflict of interest statements?
No, sir.
No. Approval of the minutes of the meeting of January 6th, 2022.
I make a motion to approve those minutes.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 5. Oh, shoot, I'm going to read them all. Bid opening, demolition of properties located at 7508 Birch Avenue, 5903 through 07 Calumet Avenue, multi-unit structure, 712 Cherry Street, front only, 531 Florence Street, front and shed, 5125 through 27 Holman Avenue, commercial structure, 828 Indiana Street, 1158 Indiana Street, 1307 Indiana Street, 2314 Indianapolis Boulevard, 2021 Lake Avenue, 1630 through 34 Roberts Avenue, 120 Sibley Street, commercial structure, 5235 State Line Avenue, 4240 Wabash Avenue, rear structure only, 1219 150th Street, front and garage, to be bid separately. Okay. All right. First bid for demolition of various properties is Acton. Is it Acton Construction or? Acton? Okay, that's all that's on the envelope. Dean, will these have all the various items we usually do for bids?
They should have the usual.
Okay, okay,
496,
okay, let me look. Okay?
but they may separate their bids.
There's a bid form, like we always do.
No, I've got that.
But there aren't there times when they bid without bids?
Yeah.
No, that's fine. Okay, here we go. Acton Contracting. We got the demolition bid. We've got the contractors of Form 96. The non-collusion affidavit. Bid bond. Okay. I'm just looking for the bid bond. And the bid bond, and the total bid price, bid total for all properties listed is $258,069. $258,069 for Acton contract. Okay. Bid number 2. Bid number 2 is from James Industrial Services, Hammond, Indiana. Bid proposal. Form 96. Non-collusion affidavit. And bid bond. JM Industrial Services bid is $290,715. $290,715 bid total for all properties listed. Next bid. Certified Solutions, Chicago, Illinois. Form 96. Non-collusion affidavit. The bid.
Chelsea's future boss.
Yes.
Guessing that's. Okay. Bid bond and non-collusion affidavit. We have a, let's see, we have a form here with all the prices for each property, but it's not total. Is there a piece of paper in here that has a total on it? I don't. Let's see.
Is there a cover letter?
I'm guessing, I don't want to guess. I do have a number on the contractor's bid for Public Works Form 96. Would that be it?
You can read it, and then we'll just refer it for review.
I don't see. I will read, let's see, it says for the sum, $665,235. City of Hammond Demolitions, Board of Public Works and Safety, for the sum of $665,235.
There's no bid sheet included, which kind of goes by property.
Well, we do, they're just not total.
Gotcha, okay,
They're not
that's
total.
okay.
So, that's fine?
Yeah, just
Okay.
refer, if you could refer it to the law department and the
Okay,
inspections department for review.
because the numbers might be different. Okay. Okay. Just want to make sure I don't see it. All right. I don't see it. Okay. Again, that was Certified Solutions Incorporated, Chicago, Illinois. Last bid, City Hammond Demolitions, CNB Construction. Bid bond. Bid proposal. Form 96. and the non-conclusion affidavit, and their bid price for all properties listed is $786,247. $786,247, CNB Construction. And that will conclude the bids.
Okay. You good? Yep. Okay, I will make a motion then to forward the bids to the Law Department and Inspections Department for review.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye?
Aye. Okay. Okay, moving along. Item 6, matters from department heads or their representatives. Mr. Button.
Good morning to the board. Thank you. Two actions for the board today. Indiana Department of Transportation has two agreements. The first one is for $276,000 grant to the city of Hammond for the improvements to the Indianapolis, Michigan intersection, creating a new northbound right turn lane as a result of a traffic study that was performed related to the Lear seating project. DES number, which is NDOT's designation number for the project, is 1901784. The engineering department asked the board approve their ratification of the agreement as they have signed to this at this time.
Yeah, just to be clear, I just want to make sure that the board ratifies the signing of the document.
Okay.
So,
Okay, then I will make a motion to ratify the signing of the agreement for the total of $276,000 for the Indiana Department of Transportation.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
One more.
and could there also be a second motion to approve that agreement?
Okay. Then I will make a second motion to approve that agreement.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The second project, Indiana Department of Transportation, does number 2101421. This is a community crossing matching grant project where the state and the city work cooperatively on a 50-50 match that was offered. It's a $1 million grant. The project that was selected, that was applied for and selected, is 165th Street between Columbia and Summer Street. It's a resurfacing, basically, of that segment. Similarly, we need a motion to approve the agreement and ratify the signatures of the board who have done so up to this point. Okay, then I will make a motion then to ratify the signatures and approve the agreement.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other department heads or their representatives, any business before us? No? Okay. Correspondence, item number 7. Correspondence received from Lockmuller Group recommending the bid for the Kennedy Avenue Improvements Project, 169th Street to 164th Place, be awarded to the lowest responsible bidder to Milestone North, Inc., in the amount of $6,164,417.68 submitted for approval.
Thank you, Board. This is the project that was opened last week, one of the two projects that was opened last week. The engineer has made a recommendation. The engineering department supports the recommendation to award the contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Milestone North, in the set amount. So we support that recommendation. Okay, and I will make a motion then to award the bid to, that was Milestone North. Milestone North.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you. Letter B, correspondence received from Beam, Longest and Neff LLC, recommending the bid for the Little Calumet River Trail pedestrian bridge be awarded to Garriup Construction in the amount of $6,287,500, submitted for approval.
We concur with the engineer's recommendation to award the contract to Garriup Construction as the lowest responsive and responsible bidder for the Little Calumet River Trail pedestrian bridge project.
Okay, we'll make a motion then to award the contract to Garriup Construction.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you. Item C, correspondence received from Kelly Kearney, Chief of Inspections, requesting $9,650 of Mayor's Gaming Fund be allocated for 3rd District tree removal project, 50-50 split with Councilman Tyler, submitted for approval.
Morning, Board.
Morning.
Councilman Tyler approached us a little over a year ago about a bunch of trees that were down in vacant lots that we were cutting and maintaining. The cost of cutting the trees was pretty excessive. We had asked the mayor, or he had asked the mayor if he would help pay for some of the costs because it was such a heavy hit on just the one district. So they'd split the 50-50 cost, and the trees have been cut and removed. Those are all vacant lots. They're free standing now. No private property, nothing that would be improper.
Okay.
Okay, then I'll make a motion then to approve Mr. Kearney and Councilman Tyler's request.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item D, correspondence received from Chris Campbell, Director of Information Technology, requesting the approval of the amendment to First Communications LLC to update the contract to the correct number of telephone lines, submitted for approval.
Mr. President, we'd request this be approved. Mr. Campbell and I had a conversation about this, and as presented, it should be approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
I will then make a motion to approve Mr. Campbell's request.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item E, correspondence received from Corellis Roofing notifying the previously approved permission to block the right lane of Holman Avenue in front of the Toll Theater to place a dumpster each morning from 6:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. has been pushed back to Monday, January 17th, 2022. So this just acknowledgement.
Yeah, it's just the one northbound
Okay.
end though, right? Yeah.
Board acknowledges Corellis's communication. Okay, matters from board members. Anything?
No, sir.
No, sir.
New business. Letter A, adoption of the city self-insurance certificate for 2022, submitted for approval. Anything, Mr. Smith?
Just usually it comes from the Controller's Office. We'd request the board approve that notice.
Okay.
Okay, then I will then make a motion to approve the adoption of the city self-insurance certificate.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item B, order to rescind and release order to demolish property located at 3940 Torrance Avenue, front and garage.
Mr. President and Board, this is you may remember Mr. Medina appeared on Zoom from Florida a couple weeks ago. I believe this has been ongoing with the building department and the inspections department. I think we're all satisfied that it's coming out of the demolition sphere and into just a rehab sphere, which is great. So we'd request its approval. And then forward to Linda to make sure she can, we'll get it recorded from there.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? This is a different property. I'm sorry. I got my properties mixed up. Mr. Patrick just corrected me. This is one that has gone through the rehab process, and they've requested it to be removed. So, Mr. President, can you just make sure that the address on there is indeed 3940 and not the 4400 block of Torrance
3940 Torrance Avenue.
on the document as
Oh,
well?
3940 Torrance Avenue.
Yep, that's the one. I'm sorry, it was a different property. This is one, this is not the Medina property. This is one that I've been informed from the inspections department that has been completely rehabbed, so,
Well, that's a good story.
yep.
Okay, then I will make a motion to rescind and release the order to demolish 3940 Torrance Avenue.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Letter C, agreement to rehabilitate property located at 828 Indiana Street, submitted for approval.
There was a inspection by Mr. Luter or Mr. Hine. This was forwarded by Linda to the owner, and it was returned. I believe it should be signed. We'd request this board's signature as well.
Okay.
Rehab.
I'll make the emotion, I'll make a motion to approve the agreement to rehabilitate 828 Indiana Street.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Letter D, right-of-way permits, 2, submitted by Engineering Department for approval. Mr. Gordish.
Good morning. I just want to get it into the record that the AT&T permit, Hoosier Land, Water Department requested a person on site. There's large water mains. They have been contacted via email, and also I personally contacted Hoosier Land. So they agreed to that, but I just want to make sure it's on record just in case. There's some really large water mains where they're working at.
Oh, boy. So the Water Department is aware and
Yes,
or responsive?
they're aware of it, but we've had issues with Hoosier Land in the past. But I personally spoke to them yesterday.
Okay.
And I do have the manager's phone number.
And Hoosier Land is what, a locating company? or-
They are a underground boring company that does work
Okay,
mainly for AT&T.
Okay.
And this is for the West Lake, so they're removing some of their lines. But there are water mains in the vicinity that could create issues if they hit it.
okay,
So I recommend approval. Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the right-of-way permits.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 10, old business, letter A, declaration of emergency under 36-1, -12-9, and 36-7, -9, and request for quotes thereunder to demolish 5248 Holman Avenue.
Mr. President, let me first just set the record and find out if anybody is either here present or on Zoom regarding 5248 Holman. Okay, hi, sir. Do you want to come on? Are you an owner? So you're the property manager of the property? FNADZ? Yeah, come on up, because we'll get the record. Anybody here?
This gentleman on Zoom may be joining us. as well.
Mr. Mislevy, are you also present for the hearing?
Yes, I'm just at the adjoining property owner to the west, across the alley. I just wanted to be informed of what was going on.
Okay, so what we'll do is, I want to make sure you weren't representing any party. So if you could just,
Representing myself, the owner of the property.
all right, then what we'll,
Not the subject property, but the adjacent property.
right, I know exactly where you're at. So why don't we do this? If you could go back on mute, and then after the city presents its case, if you'd like to put anything on the record, we'll let you do that. All right, thank you. Okay, could you go ahead and introduce yourself to the board, spell your first and last name, and just let them know what your position is related to the property.
My name is Wesley Swanson, Wesley Swanson. I'm the property manager and inspector for First National Assets, and Jim Finnerty and his partner.
Thank you. So, board, just setting the record then, Mr. Kearney, I should actually back up. So originally, this matter was before the board, and it's in the board's minutes of November 18th, 2021, in which I indicated to the board that Mr. Kearney was going to proceed under the Unsafe Building Act 36-7-9-9. And we had informed Mr. Gescheidler from Hammond National Realty Investment regarding the belief that Mr. Kearney, who had received a quote from Hassey Construction, was going to do some emergency repair and was going to proceed. At that time, we did not consider it a demolition. It was only an emergency order of repair. We presented the board with some photos, and the board's action was to affirm the emergency order to repair suggested by Mr. Kearney. That motion carried before this board on November 18th, 2021. On December 2nd, Mr. Kearney then, and this is also in the minutes of the board of December 2nd's meeting, Mr. Kearney had correspondence to the board informing the board that based on his completion of the inspection and walkthrough, that the sidewalks and alley would need to be closed and that he's going to proceed with more towards demolition. I indicated to the board that Hassey Construction, who was our consulting construction company on the project, felt that after the interior inspection, they wanted to hold off on any exterior repair until they had further information. And again, I informed the board that Mr. Kearney was operating under the emergency provisions of the Unsafe Building Act, and he was acting as an emergency, under an emergency to protect life and property. The board acknowledged that, and that's when the the alley and the sidewalk was blocked off. Since that time, Mr. Kearney has issued what is entitled, and it was issued on January 10th, Notice of Emergency Action Concerning an Unsafe Premises in Violation of the Hammond Housing Code, Municipal Code, Emergency Order to Demolish, and upon failure, Notice of Emergency Order to Demolish thereon, requested by the Hammond Inspections Department. That notice was sent to Hammond National Realty and Investment Corporation, FNADZ LLC, which is First National Assets, as well as any and all unknown tenants. The notice was sent certified mail, regular mail, and email pursuant to some emails we had received from the owners. I believe this property was purchased recently on a tax sale by First National Assets. Mr. Finnerty and I have had a conversation within the last, I would say, 30 to 45 days. We also, the building department, I believe, has posted, and I'll make this part of the record, the notice onto the building of today's hearing. So I believe under the Act, even though Mr. Kearney has the right to proceed without notice, he has given reasonable notice and proper notice under the Unsafe Building Act. The first thing I'd like to do is to call Mr. Kearney up and have him give a summary. We also have Mr. Hutton and Mr. Hassey and Mr. Vail here today to just give brief testimony. But I do want to just ask Mr. Kearney a couple questions on the record. Mr. Kearney, could you please identify yourself to the board?
My name is Kelly Kearney. I'm the Chief of Inspections for the City of Hammond.
And Mr. Kearney, are you familiar with the condition of the property located at 5248 Homan Avenue?
Yes, I am.
All right. Is this a property that you have, as the enforcement authority under the Indiana Unsafe Building Act for the City of Hammond, determined that an emergency exists?
Yes.
All right. And that emergency is based on the condition of the property?
Yes.
And is the condition of the property one that you believe that demolition is required due to the potential imminent danger to neighboring structures, persons, and/or property that may be in the area?
Yes.
All right. And in reaching that determination, sir, have you consulted with other professionals in that area of expertise?
Yes, I have.
And who do those include?
Mr. Hutton, Mr. Bill Hutton, and Bill Hassey from Hassey Construction.
Okay, so after those consultations, I know originally in November you had come and believed that you wanted to issue an order to repair, and since that time and since those consultations, have you changed your mind and believe that demolition is the only way to save this building?
Yes, I have.
Or not save this building, the only way to proceed under the Act?
Yes.
All right. That's all the questions I have for Mr. Kearney. Mr. Swanson, if you have any questions for Mr. Kearney, you can ask those at this time. All right, thank you. Does the board have any questions of Mr. Kearney? All right. No. I think next we'd like to call Bill Hassey, who is the principal of Hassey Construction. Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name and introduce yourself to the board?
Hi, I'm Bill Hassey. I am president of Hassey Construction Company.
Mr. Hassey, did the City of Hammond, through its inspections department, request that that your company issue or do an inspection of the premises?
Yes.
And did your company in fact do that inspection?
We first inspected the exterior of the building and requested to do a repair on the south facade, but upon further investigation and then an inspection of the interior of the building, we found it non-repairable.
And Mr. Hassey, could you describe for the board why why it's now non-repairable, especially that, I guess it'd be the west wall, which is against the alley, and then the south wall.
So the south wall and the west wall both have deterioration of the masonry structure and rusting of some of the steel within the lintels. The building roof is partially been removed, and it's currently having water damage, mold, and ice formation, causing additional structural failures.
Mr. Hassey, do you believe that in its current condition, it creates a hazard to either life, property, and the surrounding area and neighborhood?
Yes?
Okay. Do you believe that, have you given the opinion to Mr. Kearney that you believe that repair would be, would not be the way to proceed in this manner, and that demolition is the only way to proceed?
Yes.
All right. I don't have any other questions for Mr. Hassey. Does the board have any questions?
I'm just trying to visualize where the building is.
Yeah, let me,
No, I mean, that's fine. Obviously, there's nothing to the south that is going to support the south wall. It's just, it crumbles, it's gonna.
The south wall is Munich.
Okay, that's, I just drawing a blank. Okay. Okay. And the west wall's the,
Photos of the property.
Oh, all right. Now it makes more sense.
Yes, yeah, mold.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Okay.
So the south wall is the yellow brick, and the west wall is the white
With the fire escape.
Got you.
fire escape. Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. No, I don't have any questions.
No.
Mr. Swanson, any questions of Mr. Hassey? All right. Thanks, Bill. Next call, Mr. Hutton. Mr. Hutton, could you please introduce yourself to the board?
Yes, my name is Bill Hutton. I'm with Hutton and Hutton Architects and Engineers.
And Mr. Hutton, are you familiar with the area in and around 5248 Holman Avenue?
Yes, sir.
Were you asked by the inspections department to accompany them and Hassey Construction along with our city engineer in an inspection of the building?
Yes, sir.
And did you do so?
Yes, sir.
And what was your determination regarding the condition of the building and the structural integrity thereon?
My opinion of this building is that the direction it should be taken is for demolition. The west wall has weakened to a point where it's near failure right now. The fire escape that's adding additional weight and corrosion. The south wall parapet is also bending as well. The building's been unattended for some time, I believe, and a lot of snow and rain have entered the building, and the wood structure on the inside, I fear, is beyond repair.
Is there parking behind it on the west side by the school, or?
There is not. Well,
I mean, nobody's parking there now, I would hope, right?
so the only thing between, the nearest structure is Mr. Mislevy's building, just across the alley to the west. And then you have, so there's a law office, and then you have the school.
Okay.
The nearest parking would be to the southwest at an angle behind the commercial properties on Holman.
Okay.
Mr. Hutton,
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Please, continue, I'm sorry.
Mr. Hutton, given the condition of the building, I think you just issued you confirmed that you agree with Mr. Kearney's position that the building should be demolished.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, sir, Mr. Swanson, of Mr. Hutton? No. Okay. Is there anything to add, Tom?
No, I agree with that.
Okay. Dean?
No, sir.
Nothing to add? Okay. So the other thing that I believe, given the condition of the property, we are requesting the board declare it an emergency under Indiana Code 36-1-12-9, which would allow Mr. Kearney to proceed with obtaining quotes and/or bids outside of the formal quoting or bidding process. And I believe that Mr. Kearney has indicated that we have to put on the record that, number one, that the board's declared this an emergency under that code, and number two, that Mr. Kearney is requesting quotes from JM Wrecking and Acton. Is that accurate? Okay. Yeah, Yep. Yep. Oh, and Mr. Vail also wanted me to indicate that another reason for the emergency is that the fire escape is now touching the neutral wire, the neutral NIPSCO wire, and may fall, is in danger of falling as well. You good, those two? Great, you can proceed. I mean, as long as they declared an emergency, you can get those quotes, you can determine who's going to do the work and proceed. So that is our request on this property, that number one, that you adopt the findings in order that I presented to the board. Number two, that you declare an emergency under 36-1-12-9, and that should do it. I should allow Mr. Swanson, do you want to, if you'd like to say anything to the board, Mr. Swanson, or your position on the city's request to demolish?
No, we're in agreement.
Okay.
And again, your connection to the building is, sir?
I work for First National Assets, property manager and inspection.
Okay, all right, thank you. Anything?
Yep, I just wanted to make sure that we have the record, before I go to Mr. Mislevy, I want to make sure the record reflects that First National Assets did not object to the city's request, and and there was no other additional evidence to present. So, thanks, Mr. Swanson. If Jim has any questions, have him call me.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Mislevy, Mr. Button reminded me that you were on Zoom, so I apologize I didn't go to you right away. Anything you'd like to add?
One thing I'd like to add, I don't know if it's appropriate for this hearing or if the inspection department is aware of this, but as you know, the former Enslin law is to the north of us. It was destroyed by fire about a month ago, and it's my understanding that building is in the process of being demolished or has applied to be demolished. My concern is that if the demolition of that building starts before this west wall is either on the subject property at 5248, is either shored up or fire escape is removed, and the tremors from dropping that other building would bring this wall down. And as I've noticed, probably within the, I'm looking at the wall right now, my window of my office, the west wall, there's a vertical crack in it right underneath the top level of the fire escape that looks like the brick between, on the other side of the crack is moving. It's pushed out about an inch, inch and a half. And I think I've noticed that in the last 10 days to 2 weeks. So that wall is moving, and I'm afraid that any kind of vibrations from dropping the other building could cause this wall to come down. So I don't know if there could be a coordination between the two so that the 5248 is either shored up or brought down before the other building comes down.
Thanks, Mr. Mislevy. I think that's a point well taken. I'm going to let Mr. Kearney speak to that. I can tell you that the contractor for the Enslin building, I believe, is JM Wrecking, and they are one of the two folks that he's going to get a quote from. So if they are the low quoter and they're awarded the demolition of 5248, I would assume that Mr. Kearney is going to coordinate with them, and I think the point you've made is a good one, and I'll let Mr. Kearney kind of confirm that and see where we go from there.
I had spoke with J.M. Wrecking regarding the Enslin building. They had put in their 10-day notice to the state, to IDEM, letting them know when their begin date would be. In discussion with Jeff McKernan, owner of JM, I expressed the concern of this, if this is going to be heard as an emergency demo, that this would take precedent over the Enslin building, and that may have to be, that date may have to be pushed forward. Being that the buildings are so close, 5248 is going to take more importance. So 5248 will start before the Enslin building, if JM is the contractor. If not, I'll have to work with. If not, it would be Active would be the other bidder that would start it immediately as soon as possible.
Okay.
And so I think, Pat, or Mr. Mislevy, I think if I heard Mr. Kearney correctly, he will ensure that 5248 comes down first.
That's great. I mean, like I said, the sooner the better. Like I said, we're watching this every day and kind of worried that saw it happening, Rick took copies off and it's getting worse every day. So anything that can be done to expedite it is appreciated.
Yeah, I can tell you that it's been a priority of the inspections department and the building department this week. In fact, we had NIPSCO on site kind of on an emergency basis. We had a Zoom call with them. They understand the importance of it. They have already started trying to figure out how they're going to isolate those wires and that service in the alley, as you know, which you can probably look out your window and see as well. It's quite an electrical, or it's an interesting electrical situation, let's put it that way. And they are trying to make sure that the Indiana building, the old Joe Hirsch building, keeps electric, as well as your building, while the demolition occurs, and obviously tries to keep it, and will keep everything safe for those that are working there as well.
Actually, they were out here yesterday and they dropped in two utility poles behind the school, which it appears they're gonna bring wires or bring power in from the west, to the corner of our building where the one pole has the transformer on it that services the three buildings you just talked about.
Okay, great. So I think the last thing I want to just let you know is that obviously Mr. Kearney will keep in contact with you. If you have any questions, his office number is 853-6316. And if you need any updates, please feel free to call him.
He's on it, he's dropped off the car, he's been great.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, sir.
very appreciative of the building department's efforts.
All right, thank you. If there's nothing further than by any party, the city, again, I think I've made the request to the board and would ask that you proceed accordingly.
Okay, stay with me for a second here. Then I'm going to make a motion to approve the findings as presented today by Mr. Smith, Mr. Kearney, Mr. Vale, Mr. Hutton, and Mr. Hassey, and approve the declaration of emergency under 36-1-12-9 for 5248 Holman Avenue, which would then allow Mr. Kearney to receive bids immediately from JM Wrecking and Acton Contracting for quotes.
Perfect. Thank you.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. That was quite meritorious there, Mr. Long.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Very nice. Very nice, man. Letter B, status on the 90-day trial parking restrictions along the 700 block of 171st Street. Obviously, this is on the south side of Edison Elementary School. Mr.
Thank
Button.
you to the board. I'm happy to report that the trial's been very successful. We've received some positive feedback from Edison School. We'd like to make that permanent if there's an action that can be taken to keep those no parking place signs up that would prevent parking to occur during the school dismissal. Thank you.
So, as the board's aware, we're trying to work through this with the council to give the board powers of permanent, to make this permanent. What I would suggest at this time, because my understanding through talking to some members of the council is we do have a sponsor for that ordinance now, Councilman Rakos, and it should be before the board, I would think, in February, or I'm sorry, before the council in February. So if we could renew the temporary parking, what are we calling this? Temporary parking restrictions along the 700 block of 171st for another 90 days. That will allow us to hopefully get that ordinance in place, and then when it comes up again for status, Linda, could you please set it for status for like 80 days or 75 days? We should be good to go.
Okay.
Okay, then I will make a motion to approve another 90-day trial, parking restrictions along 700 block of 171st Street.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Letter C, status, 7217 Harrison Avenue.
If I could approach, Mr. President. 7217, this was before the board on November 4th. Hi, how are you? 7217 Harrison, it was before the board on November 4th. We entered an order. I believe it was stayed so that we could have a status. And then it seems like somebody's here. If you could just introduce yourself, tell us your
connection.
relationship to the property.
Leslie Putnam, I purchased the tax certificate. Yes, the 11th, 2 days ago, the order for issuance of tax deed was signed. I received that from my lawyer yesterday. I filed with the tax sale department, submitted everything, certificate and everything. They said it would be 3 to 4 months before the deed's recorded. So that's
Mr. Putnam, what's your plan regarding the property?
to fix it up.
Okay, have you had any properties in Hammond that you have done that with to date?
No, I have not.
All right. So this reminds me, I think you were at the last hearing too,
Yes,
right?
sir.
That's why we set it over for status. So what we'll do is we'll hold off on bidding this. We'll allow Mr. Putnam some time to get his tax deed. Let's set this over for a status in, call it early April. We'll see if you got the deed yet. And then if you've got plans and things like that you want to start setting up with the building department, I would suggest you do that if you rehab permit and stuff like that. But I guess you got to wait till you get the deed to get in there.
Is there a way to get a list of what the violation was, or?
Well, now that you have, so
Do they
check with Mr. Kovachkov, if now that you have the order for deed, he may say that you can go into the property. If that's the case, then we can set up an inspection. That's going to be the next step, is to go downstairs, pay for an inspection of the property. We'll have an inspection done, and then we can get a rehab before this board.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we get an April date then?
April 7th, is that okay?
That's fine.
All right, April 7th for status.
Okay. Then I will make a motion to set 7217 Harrison for status to April 7th, 2022.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. One more, baby. Letter D, status 5213 Holman Avenue.
All right, is anybody present for 5213 Holman Avenue? This is the old basic business supply, right near the Toll Theater and next to the Jack Fox building. Yeah, I believe there is a purchaser that Mr. Kearney has talked to. However, I believe we did the same thing. We entered the order on November 4th, but we stayed it pending an update. So at this point, do you want to bid it out, or how do you want to proceed?
Tough demo, man.
And we're going to go forward with bidding this out, and then there's no need for another status because it'll be on the bid list. So thank you. That's the status.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, there's no.
No, we're just going to continue with the demo.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha. Man, I got a lot of notes today, man.
Number 11, meetings open to the public. Anyone here care to speak?
Sorry, if you don't mind me coming back, oversight. City met with the Hammond Academy in Science and Technology this week. As the board is aware, city engineer has converted Russell Street west of Holman to two-way traffic as a result of the Hammond National Insurance Building's
So Munich's closed.
pending demolition. Munich is closed. Russell Street was converted to two-way temporarily. The end goal is to make Russell Street, both sides of Holman Avenue, two-way. But for the time being, we've temporarily made Russell Street west of Holman two-way.
And when was that done, sir?
That was done a week ago tomorrow. So what is that, the 7th?
Okay.
7th of January.
Okay.
Thank you for that. And so we met with the Hammond Academy of Science and Technology, Dr. Egan, earlier this week, and he has requested some support related to primarily dismissal, but sometimes arrival, where there's a significant amount of traffic now making a left turn, which sort of blocks the access to and from the school.
Turn off of what, Holman?
Coming off of Ann Street.
Oh,
So I'm sorry. Basically,
I understand.
they're approaching up Munich Court now, like they always did, and dropping the students off. And then when they turn south on Ann Street, when they go to get to Russell to make a left turn, it's sort of congested. And so they've asked that we allow them, like is done in a few schools, particularly St. John Bosco, if you're familiar with that subject that occurred middle of last year, that we allow them to direct traffic temporarily to State Line or make a right turn, force a right turn onto Russell Street, just for the period of time when there's arrival and dismissal. And so there was concurrence from the mayor's office and the engineering department to coordinate that effort. I'm going to talk with Mr. Kleina after the meeting to sort of see what we can do to support that effort, but I wanted the board to know that we will be seeking an action to allow temporary right turn only during arrival and dismissal at
They
Hass.
communicate that to the parents that drop these children off on
Yeah.
a daily basis, right? That this is how it's temporarily
The-
going to be,
the-
so we don't get all the pushback?
We received some really good comments from Dr. Egan about his interaction with his, the parents of the students at Hammond Academy, that they've been real excited about what the changes are and what things have been happening, not just related to this, but also to other things that are happening at the school. And so we think that this is a good idea and really just want to support the school and what they're trying to do. The doctor had also asked about.
I'm actually a fan of Russell being two-way, by the way. I'm a big fan of Russell being a two-way. I've always thought it should be, so.
West of home.
West of Holman, yes, yep.
Yeah, east of Holman will have to be made two-way.
Yeah, it's not wide enough, yeah.
Will have to be made two-way when the Westlake comes through. We've sort of all agreed to that. Dr. Egan has requested that we do maybe some additional salting of the alleys and parking areas over there, because a lot of the pickup and drop-off are happening on the alleys as well, and it's pretty slippery over there. Probably better today with the warmer temperature, but. So look for an action from us, but for temporarily, we're working with the school to allow right turn at dismissal and arrival. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the public? Good, going once?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.